Thank you for joining me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. This is episode number 181. Yelling! Does it work? I grew up in a very enthusiastic household with a great deal of yelling. Not just yelling at you for doing something stupid or wrong or unnecessary, just yelling in general. I didn't think that I knew most of my childhood that regular people spoke in a normal tone of voice because it just didn't happen very often. We would go out the back door because we had more than an acre and we lived out kind of in the country and just holler, William, Judy. Just it was what we did. There was a lot of yelling. I didn't like it. I have a pretty sensitive spirit. I don't like people to yell at me. I never have. I still don't. um, I remember as a somewhat older child, maybe 10ish, hearing some of my older brothers and sisters yell at their children. So it was passing on to the next generation. I could hardly stand it. I'm very serious when I say that to you. It would just, make me cringe. I couldn't hardly hack it. When my sons were little boys, I determined then there was not going to be a lot of yelling in my house. I genuinely hated it so much. I'm not saying there wasn't some, just that I made this determination there wasn't going to be, and I started working on it really earnestly. Very much so. I have shared in the past that when someone in our household needed someone, there was no yelling up the stairs or yelling whatever. I taught my children and I practiced it as well. If you need someone, you go to the room where they are, and you say to them, I need you to come into the kitchen. I need you to get out to the car, whatever it is, but you go where they are and you have that talk with them. You don't stand in another room and yell and yell and yell. I've seen parents, and I do mean decent, good quality parents. I'm not being critical here. I'm just reporting who would stand at the front door when it's time to go and just start yelling, Where are you? Get yourself down here. And the kid comes and he doesn't have his book pack. Where's your book pack? I've just seen it. And there's a lot of yelling. I admit to you that I've seen teachers in a classroom who consistently yell and they think that's an effective way to get someone's attention. Here's a principle for you. If your kid gets to the place where he or she is just used to the fact that you're always yelling, I'm pretty convinced that's a horrible place for your child to live. They should not be accustomed to yelling. I don't think that's good. I think you need to give your child the principle that, in general, you need to express yourself pretty calmly and clearly. And even when you're upset, you can get stern, your voice can get stronger. That does not require you yelling like an idiot. Go it. No, there's a difference between a strong, stern voice and yelling. Those are not identical. I was at an event, I'll use that language, a little while ago, and I heard an adult who was supervising some children, and I mean, they were yelling their head off. Oh, and in addition to raising their voice inordinately, they were being insulting, because frequently I hear yelling and insults go alongside of one another. I was so disturbed. Wow. I was not in any position of authority or management with this person, so I literally just took myself and left the room. I wasn't going to stand there and listen to little kids getting treated in that way. It bothered me that much. If anything, when I have a group of kids and they're struggling to pay attention, I get quieter and quieter. And generally, they lean closer and closer in order that they might hear me. In fact, if there is an entire group of kids and they are very out of control, I will talk very quietly and calmly. And in a matter of a minute or a minute and a half, every child in that room is quiet and attentive. Often it is far more effective to get quiet than it is to yell. Great principle. So, does yelling work? Well, it depends on what you call work. Is it effective? I think there are far more effective ways of communicating. Someone recently shared with me that when a person in their household was in trouble, one of their parents was yelling about that and how badly the young person in question responded to that. Have you ever been in a situation watching someone really, really get yelled at, whether it's a cashier in the store because they didn't ring something up correctly, or someone in customer service because, oh my goodness, this product didn't work? I mean, they didn't manufacture the product. Why are you going off on them? Someone in a tax office because the tax bill is so high. Just lots of situations not directly related to a child, but nonetheless, an adult who's a little out of control and letting it happen, just yelling and carrying on. Were you impressed? Literally, I want you to think about that. Wow, I was so impressed about that person's ability to raise their voice and act like an idiot and yell and scream and cuss and bother everybody in the whole room. Were you impressed? I'm just curious. Because if you were not impressed by that person, I want to tell you something. I don't know any children who are impressed by an adult who is out of control. I don't. I've never met a single child that told me, wow, that was really impressive. They yelled and they screamed and they cussed, and yeah, that was very impressive. I've never heard that from a child, ever. Well, they looked really like a stupid idiot. They're calling me one, but they looked really stupid while they were doing it. Spit's flying out of their mouth, their face is getting red. Yeah, I'm serious as anything. Think about this. When in your life have you ever seen someone yell, 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 and you were impressed? If you haven't, do you think that yelling works? Just a question. Does your child think that yelling works? Something to consider. So, one of the principles of life that we need to understand is there are effective ways to communicate and there are ineffective ways to communicate. And I grant you that as our emotions crank up, often our voice goes with it. That's understandable. And it comes back to having control of your inner state and then having control over the outer or external world so that no matter how angry you are, you can express that anger very clearly without getting out of control. Yeah, I think it's a principle all of us need to look at. My question for you today is, do I tend to yell when I'm upset, when I'm impatient, when things don't go my way, when I'm angry, when I'm frustrated, when my kid is irritating me? Do I tend to yell? When do I yell? What really gets me going enough that I will yell? And is it working? Oh, my stars. Seriously, all of us, we will get to a point where we just want to yell our heads off. I get it better than you might know, because recently I had something I really wanted to yell about. I didn't, but I wanted to. I get it. We all hit that place. And our kids can make us a little crazy, and we just want to yell. My only thing is, does it work? If it isn't working, maybe you need to do something different. It's possible. Yeah. Does yelling work? I don't know. You tell me. Please leave me your comments, your questions, or your suggestions. I would love to hear from you. It's been good having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.